When we just did adventure tours, I got a lot of bright-eyed questions about spirits, ancestors, feeling the power of the earth and such. I'm Wabanaki Confederacy. I must be into that stuff, right? I never thought of it as a mystical thing, a tribal thing, to treat the land with respect. We learned from our elders. You can't find much older out here than the land. That's the starry-eyed version. The one down here in the grit is that the land will kill you and keep on going like a logging truck. So you respect it and try to find peace with that idea. Understand that it's so much bigger than all of us and has its own big plan. Yes, this world has slipped out of balance. And yes, we have words for that with a whole bunch of vowel sounds. But you and I have been walking on a giant all these years. It just shrugged its shoulders. Before the storm, Paul and I were talking expansion. I'd talk, he'd agree. On the mainland, maybe up in the Appalachians. Been tracking sightings of unidentified creatures there since we got started. You cross off half of them as overactive imagination, and we're still talking dozens. We could move up from 1 hunt a month to 2 a week. Damn, but those New Yorkers can't get enough trophies. Decorating their boardrooms or something. Sightings were on the up and up here too. Not just the Sasquatch and the Wendigo. There's something out there. Different to the rest. I hear its call some nights. It's a wrong sound. Not an animal call, but something that's making a noise like it thinks an animal should. Doesn't even carry on the air right. If it's marking out its territory, that's the best of a bad situation. It means it's not coming down here. If there's still a tribe here, I'd call it a dysfunctional one. I mostly keep out of Wabanaki business. They can't get along with each other, let alone cope in the real world. And half the townies still lock up their mouthwash when they see one of us coming. Then there's the matter of our sacred land. Sometimes they can't trip over themselves fast enough to sell it off by the yard. Others, they dig in their heels even when psychoil suits are here sweating money. Me, I think they like the fantasy that there's good soil to protect and sour soil to make the evil eye at. It doesn't work that way. People gave Blue Ridge a bad name, not ancient curses. No one disturbed the burial grounds, and yet there they are, up and walking anyway. It can take days for these boys to agree on the communal food order. If they were the defenders of this island, I'd feel bad for the island.
Friend, I haven't got time to be shook up. Not when my wife and I are the only ones in the park who can shoot a can off a fence at 10 foot. I'm not even kidding. We held tryouts. Sure thing this is wicked strange, but it's just a real bad day in our new normality. A different kind of survivalism. Back in the day, I said to old Joe, I think I've seen something from the stories out there. He says, yup. I tell him, I thought they were just stories. And he gives me one of those looks from over his glasses. If I told you a story about land across the ocean from the island, would you believe that? I say, sure I would, I've seen it. Oh, he likes that, gets his big old grin on. He says, well, Paul, now you've seen the Wendigo too. Well, we never really had any trouble with your type on the hunts. Maybe some get a little too keen about waving their fancy swords around instead of a good rifle. I'd tell them, these creatures can take a high-caliber bullet on the skull like you'd slugged a rock at them. So are you positive you want to get up close? There was one guy, though, who wanted to blood himself from a Wendigo. That's what he said, and I looked at Annika thinking, this is not gonna fly. She told him no way, no how. Maybe he didn't know the legends like we did, but you don't want to be getting Wendigo in you. He kicked off over that, so we wheeled the truck around, took him back to the airport so fast he hardly had time to pack his little photocopied pamphlets. Like you see on television, what are they called, the morning light? Guess those Moonies are soft in the head after all. I'm not much of a deep thinker. Working in the outdoors, it pays to be more concerned with what's happening than the why. But when the world went all to hell, sure I had to do some considering. Perhaps the reason we ran across those beasts when we did was a sign. It seems animals are the first to know when there's a big change coming. And perhaps I should have known it then. I just sensed it. Like at the end of fall when you know a hard freeze is coming on overnight. And there's always been stories. And not just old Joe's, the townies bring their own too. And there's a Kingsmouth explanation for all the good and bad in the world. Mostly the bad. Hell, I've told college kids a horror story or two about the old trapper cabin to keep them out of it. When the fog rolls back, what if this is the way the world's gonna be from now on?
Welcome to our camp. Call me Old Joe. That's what everybody here calls me. On account of young Joe. I'm his brother. Did you know? Also, I'm loath to admit, because I'm a very old man. Nicknames know no mercy. These days, I guess you could call me a story keeper. I don't tell them anymore. Nobody wants to listen to an old man telling even older stories. The only thing that matters to the young ones is the present. And those who have been here a while, they prefer to look to the future, not to the past. So, I keep the stories, but I don't tell them anymore. Not unless someone comes and asks, or if they're outsiders and don't know not to encourage me. It's a sad thing. Families can't settle their differences. And 40 years is a long time. That's how long we've been half a tribe. Even here, we're divided. Those of us who chose to stay in the camp, we've got our schemes and our plans. Frank and Joe with their schemes. A casino. Might as well be wearing headdresses and charging tourists for pictures. And Paul and Annika bringing big city folk out there into the forest to hunt exotic prey. They all believe the land belongs to us, that she's ours to exploit, like it's our birthright to take advantage of the land, like she owes us anything. I'm not saying we're the only ones at fault. Red, now there's a man some would call pig-headed, and they wouldn't be wrong. So, he's a man of principles. And I can't say I'd have done differently if I were in his shoes, but he played his part in this. He was never one to forgive. But we all had to make tough choices. He made his, and I made mine. And who's to say what was right and wrong back then? At least we know the reason why we didn't talk. We feel it. It's harder for the young ones, those who weren't here back then, like Ami and Kyra. They must all think we're old and stubborn, and we're less of a family for it. That saddens me more than anything. We go a long way back, our tribe in this land. For more than 1,000 years, these hills and forests are all we've known. We haven't left the island because we couldn't. If all of us left, there would be no one to guard it. The hills harbor a dark secret, but it was always our secret, and we were sworn to protect it, keep it, and shield the rest of the world from it. But the hills are treacherous. They whisper to the weak, draw them in. And the weak have dug too deep. The secret within is coming out. We are the people of the dawn, but the sun is setting. I fear for all that is good in this world. What saved us from the fog, saved our people from being turned into soulless things, was the very thing we'd neglected so long. Tradition, rituals, magic. What saved us was what our forefathers did to protect the whole island. And it took all this to make us see what we'd forgotten. We lost nobody, at least in the tribe. Of course, we lost everyone else, and it's not like we were isolated from the rest of the island. Those people were our friends and neighbors, and many here lost people, good people they cared about and loved. I know Ami still hopes that her husband is alive out there, but he's probably dead. Let's hope he's dead. The alternative, it's much worse. I don't know if those things that came back from the sea are memories or feelings. I hope they're just empty shells used by the Grey Men to serve their needs, to spread their filth. If there is any humanity left in them, well, that's a new kind of hell that I don't even want to think about. Why others survived the fog, I couldn't tell you. Could be there's a purpose to it, could be just luck. But us, our tribe, we were protected. And that's not something we can ignore. We have a purpose now. We have a mission. Take care.
Ain't this all a fucking boot in the ass? I had plans that were gonna get us somewhere. Oh. How's your whale watching operation going, brother? Seeing any no whales got itself lost and showed up around here in 20-odd years now, huh? Ain't this all a fucking boot in the ass? I think you caught the brothers Mahando here at a good time. Used to be we were busting rocks at the quarry all day, knocking back cheap cans all night. You been saving that one up, huh, genius? You go ahead and enjoy it, because we ain't going back to that life. Not after what we heard from the mountain. Oh yeah, that old thing's been yabbering away for longer than Brother has. Could never figure out what it was saying, and it was better that way, because when its voice became so damn clear, it got no love for our people, and that ain't half of it. No, that ain't it. She said she heard it like the cracking of ice on a river that's frozen. when it knows it's got you. With Pop's deadbeat brother still hanging around her like a fart stuck in a cushion. She used to come by every summer with a damn fool idea to smooth things out with all of us. Girl sure took some shouting down. She always did. Who does she think she is? Telling us to be strong as a family, strong as a people, all while she's siding with him? Over her own flesh and blood? Her own brothers? Damn! She said we'd better stand together, or something was gonna come wash us all away.